they bring down to the field?
Oh, yeah.
So you're a big fan of the custom the 12th man.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, what have you seen from the guys here this week and how they responded from last Friday?
I mean, you have to come back, and they're coming back. So you go back to work and you keep moving forward, like I would expect.
Say that that part of it's always been, I think, the thing for you guys in your program. It's always go get the next best thing, go after whatever's next, and I think that's a trope for wrestling as well in general. But when something like that does happen, a duel that's tough, and with the result, does anything change, or how do you guys look at something like that when it hasn't really happened before?
Next best thing is kind of funny to me because we're in a dual meet season right now in the Big Ten. So it's the next date, which is what you said also. So yeah, Nebraska is the next one, and that's where our focus is. You analyze with a win the same as you do with a loss. You analyze with a loss the same as you do with a win. You get better. You pick yourself up and you go forward. If you win, you're never satisfied. You pick yourself up and you go forward. Probably the biggest thing is the Gable principle of it's always easier to move forward with success. And we didn't have a lot of success, so it's going to take a little more resolve and a little more courage, or whatever the words you want to use, while they're moving forward. And like I said, they're doing that. That's where we're at.
Nir Bailey said something after the last duel about how people kind of wrote him off. Just what have you seen from him, and has he kind of changed over the course of the season?
I'm not sure that anyone has written him off. I think that in athletics, a couple things are happening. There's instant access to athletes by, social media, tethers. And then sometimes great competitors are really optimistic, and then sometimes, they want to prove the naysayers wrong, and so they'll keep those naysayers close and want to prove them wrong, and maybe that's what's going on. I'm not going to speak for Nir Bailey, but I know that he's serious about the sport, and I know where he wants to end up at the end of the year. And remember, it's a process. This is a process that we're going through.
With him in particular, from the beginning of his career, getting those tilts while he's on top and getting turns has always been something that's brought him success. As a coach, when he hit the portal and you start that recruiting process, how enticing was that, knowing there's guys in the room like Spencer Lee, who's known for that type of stuff, to kind of build on his parterre offense?
They do gravitate toward each other. It's good that way, their relationship. The thing with tilts and being dominant on top is you are a guy that has to be fundamentally strong with the basics to keep the guy down, to keep him flat, to be able to work your tilts. It's not just catching. If I catch it, fine. That's a little easier, a little more efficient. But if I don't catch it, I got to work hard at those fundamentals. And that's what the focus is work hard on those fundamentals of riding, keeping a guy down, keeping him flat. It's ride, flat, turn, pin, in that order.
Have you seen some of the guys going with the 197 spot open up? Have you seen those guys kind of battle for it? And who do you think is kind of your guy at that weight class, at that spot right now?
They battle quite often, Sampson and Ludington, and there is a clash of styles there a little bit. It's a very fun, healthy rivalry in the room, and that's great. And we're not going to have a wrestle off there. We're going to do the right thing by the individual and for the team. And this will be minute before they go out the mat decision. So we got two guys going, Sampson, Ludington, and we'll figure that out as we come to Friday.
And there was an online post that picked up a little bit of traction regarding Mo, and which it kind of said that he had an injury and that he wasn't going to or was trying not to wrestle through that injury, and the coaching staff was kind of encouraging him. I was wondering, is that accurate?
I've learned not to interrupt but I'm going to interrupt you there. Sorry. Here's the thing. You know, everybody here knows how we run our program. We do not air it out. And whatever's said out there, we do not air out. We're not going to air our side of the story. We're not going to do that. And sometimes these things work out and sometimes they don't. And this is one of them where it didn't work out. And that doesn't have any reflection on anything about if this is personal or not. We're not going to talk about it.
For Ben, I think Ben said it. I think you've said it, I think, as well. For him, one of the things that's going to be good for him is when he gets more action, gets in more sequences, it usually turns into a good result. For him, after Wisconsin, you mentioned he's really attempting to try and get into more of those. Just for him, is that one of those things where he kind of just needs more competition right now as he's worked his way back? Is it a mental thing he's got to overcome, or what is that for him to try and get into more of those things?
I mean, it's a combination of all that and then some other too. And he is very disciplined in his approach. So whether it's, the things that you don't see athletes do, and that's paying attention to their nutrition, or, even things like sports psychology and those things. I mean, he's very detail oriented that way. And then when it's time to compete, though, none of that matters. And what I mean by that is you take care of yourself, and then when you step on the mat, you transform yourself into a competitor. And I think maybe you're getting lost a little bit there sometimes when you think, just because I've done everything right, and this guy, isn't the number one guy in the country, that it's just going to be where a guy just falls down. And that's not fair to say that about Ben Keer and how he thinks, but maybe there's a little bit of that in there where it's not going to be easy ever. And it doesn't matter what a guy's ranked. It doesn't matter what you think about how good this guy is. You have to go out there and you have to do the things that you do best, and you have to do them over and over and over again. The things that you do best, you have to do them over and over and over again. And in your training, you do those things over and over again. But when you step on the mat, it comes down to a 7-minute match. And that's where we're at with him. And he is super, super detail-oriented. And he knows that he's got more to give when the lights are on and it's for all the marbles. And that's where we're at with Ben Keer. And I think he's coming to see you guys.
184, Gabe's going to get a look there. No Angelo. Just what are you looking for from Gabe this weekend, and where's kind of Angelo at?
We have great depth with Gabe Arnold. We have a guy that is all in for what we need. And that's where we're at. So
I know you guys have a tough schedule, and having Nebraska up next after this past week, is that kind of a blessing in disguise to be able to have an opponent that kind of really grabbed your team's attention, being able to bounce back?
I think you are given what you're given, and it's the next one, and you go. And that's how it's always been. This conference is the best in the country for wrestling. And we got to be ready to go every time out. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right.